What is up, No Pants Nation? Ron here, and I'm sitting down with Josh Cantrell, the founder of Signal Brandworks. It's a marketing consultancy that helps small businesses get more customers, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. What's up, No Pants people?
So, if you will, just take a second and tell us who you are, a little bit about what you do, and then also what is your favorite food?
Yeah, man. So, two great questions. Number one, yeah, so who I am, my name is Josh, obviously. I have a small marketing consultancy where I do help people clarify their messaging. I use a framework called Story Brand. You may have heard of that. And I create content for people and build small marketing funnels and drive traffic to those funnels, primarily using Facebook ads. So the goal being help people get more customers. So yeah, so a little bit more about me. I've got two kids, one on the way, and they're all under 3.5. So my life is a little bit crazy, and their diapers flying everywhere, and yeah, things are nuts around my house right now. But it's a fun kind of chaos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I started my business this year in February. Officially got a name for the business in May, and it's just been a lot of fun getting to serve a lot of people here in Knoxville. That's where I'm at, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your favorite food? Can't
My
forget.
favorite food. I was gonna say anything with a beer. So as long as there's a beer there, I'll enjoy most things. But my birthday was recently, and my wife took me to this place called Stock and Barrel here in Knoxville. It's got like the most amazing burgers. Burger. So I gotta say a burger, just a big burger, man.
Yeah. So if anyone ever comes to Knoxville, hit up Stock and Barrel for sure, because everything there is so good.
Phenomenal.
So you just started your own business this year, but what's your background? Had you done, freelancing for a while or worked with any type of agencies?
Yeah, I guess my background's a little bit untraditional for maybe some freelancers, but I didn't have any agency experience really, except for an intern for like 3 months where they made me cold call and put together some terrible packages to send out. But other than that, yeah, so my experience has been mostly in-house with folks, and then just freelancing off and on. When you get a skill set, you find that people come out of the woodwork to get help doing things. And so that's kind of one of those things for me that was like, people ask me to do this, so maybe I'm pretty good at this. I don't know. So it's just been slowly over time realizing I might want to start my own thing and go out on my own, and feeling that entrepreneurial drive a little bit come out. And so, yeah, it's been mostly in-house. I worked with a technology company, real estate marketing software, a nonprofit. And so a couple other small stints here and there, but yeah, that's primarily it, man.
All right. And for those clients, what type of services did you offer to them in the beginning?
For my clients now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of it starts with messaging, really. So I'm realizing that a lot of folks just don't understand they don't really understand what their audience wants. So they think that they've been in the industry for a long time. They understand a lot about how to do what they do, but a lot of folks, when it comes to marketing, they're not really sure about, what is it that this person actually wants? So that's kind of key. And then what problems are they experiencing, or what obstacles are keeping them from getting what they want? And so that's where kind of the core of the messaging strategy that I start out with a lot of my clients is, well, let's figure out what they want, and then how you help them get what they want, and position you as kind of the guide in that process of getting the success they're trying to get. So for every business, that's a little bit different. But yeah, so we typically start there with some element of messaging, and from there, there's a strategy level in my consulting as well. So we'll think through, what I like to pitch, and what the business I like to get most is what I told you, like messaging, content, creating great content, and then building a simple marketing funnel to generate leads. But a lot of times, some of my customers just that process doesn't make total sense for where they are right now. So I try to think through, kind of to some degree, call it like a special ops marketing role. So I'm going to come in and kind of think through what is most important right now for you. where is the low hanging fruit in your business from a marketing perspective, and how can we within your budget make a dent in that, and move the needle a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
I'm there.
Yeah, I got pretty much the last like 3 or 4 words cut out, but
okay.
Yep. Sweet. So I'm trying to think okay. So basically you come in and you're trying to find what's going to move the needle the most, like what's the biggest bang for their buck. So with like content marketing, do you recommend they do, blogs, vlogs, anything on their actual site, or is it more on social media? Like, what does that look like for them usually?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I'm kind of in a weird place in my business. So the answer to that question ideally would be, and this is where I'm trying to get next year. What I'm striving at in my business is to basically just have a box and make sure everybody fits in that box. And that's the advice I would probably give to people is like, as much as you can, have a service that drives a really significant result, and then find clients that fit in that box. And then don't take on clients that don't fit in that box. And so, like a lot of people, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. It's like the doctor that can't heal himself sometimes, or like toddlers, kids that don't have shoes. Like, well, sometimes you just take things, and so I got to take more of my own advice. But so all that to say, some of my clients are they're just in different positions. So it might make sense to amplify some of what they're currently doing, because they've already built a platform. But for some folks, it's like, well, within your budget and the time that you can allocate to this, we need to just revamp 1 or 2 of your product pages on your site, and then build a single piece of thought, one thought leadership type lead magnet, and a simple email funnel that ends in a sales letter after that. But that's usually where I try to get people, because a lot of times their site is they just don't have any way of capturing leads. A lot of small businesses, they just don't. And so we'll start out with a lead magnet, and 1, to capitalize on their current web traffic. And then 2, all your content, your social content and the blogs that you create can kind of come out of that one, what I call a pillar piece of content. And so once you've got that pillar content up there, all your marketing can drive toward that, as long as that content is related to the core of what you do and the way you make money. And so, but a lot of what I'll see people doing is, we need to be tweeting, and we need to be Facebook posting organically. We need to be posting on LinkedIn, but none of it's really driving towards something that can get someone a lead. It's in general, hoping that over the next 3 years, SEO will go up, and that's good. That is a long-term strategy. But what I kind of encourage my clients to do, especially with a limited budget, is create one thing that can get leads, and then make sure that one thing is directly related to core business offering, and then create content to promote that thing. So whether that's paid or organic content. So. No,
that's perfect. And I think that content marketing is a long game, but you have to have an idea behind it. It has to be intentional. So Kate and I had a call today with a client, and that's essentially what we told them. We were trying to get them to start daily emailing, because they've got a list of a couple hundred people that we've gotten in the last week, but they're just sitting there. But they want to start blogging. And so we told them, this is good, but what we want to do is add, because we've already created funnels for them, is adding those funnels to their website, adding them within content where it makes sense, and basically just trying to get as many kind of tendrils out there as possible, as opposed to, I really hope they find my website, and then I hope they contact me. It's give them, a lead magnet, something of value to go ahead and get that email address, and then to start, following up with them.
Yep. Yeah. That follow-up is key, man. As much as you can use that follow-up sequence to like overcome objections and personalize yourself, and provide some testimonials, but, or I like to call them like stories of transformation, like how you help a person transform from one position to another, where it's like stressed out and worried and anxious about this problem that they have, to, relieved and confident or whatever. So, but yeah, the email sequence, the follow-up is key, because if you have a lead magnet on your site, but, not everybody's ready to buy right now, you got to have some way staying in touch with them. So it's good, man.
So with your clients, you normally have them write like a 3 to 5 day, like an automated sequence, like like kind of a welcome series.
Yep. Yeah. So the welcome series will be typically like welcome would be like email number one, here's your asset, whatever it is that you wanted to download, and kind of here's a little bit about who I am. The next one might be a pain and a solution. So just kind of really clearly identifying like a pain that you have and kind of teasing out what the solution might be. And then, you might, another one might be overcoming an objection, like just taking what someone in the industry or what a lot of people might be thinking about in terms of whether I should work with you or not, and just laying that out on the table, because a lot of times that's the most effective thing. And explaining through how you can, how you're different in that process, or how you've helped people who have that similar thought process, and at some point in there, you want to include in that sequence, I like to include one of those stories of transformation, or a testimonial. But I don't like to make a testimonial about me. It's not just, oh, wow, Josh is the best, or, the company, if the company's promoting, got their sales funnel going, and they want to include a testimonial. It's not so much about how wonderful they are as a company, but how that person has changed as a result of working with that business, for whatever they do.
So more the results and the value that they were able to get from working with you, but not necessarily just focused on you, more what you actually brought to the table. Yeah,
exactly. And really it's focused on the customer. So like, and as much as they can identify where they were before in the process, man, I was feeling this way, or I experienced this, and getting them to use the words that other people in the industry would use to describe where they were, because that's a lot of what businesses I think don't really get, is they don't realize how, they've got an idea of what the problem is, they think, but they don't always know how their customer's wording it. And so if you can create empathy, it's creating empathy with your audience by identifying with where they are right now, so man, it's powerful to be able to say, yeah, I know exactly where you are. You feel this way, this way, this way. And they're like, yes, 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 and then the final piece in a basic funnel would be a sales letter, so whether that sales letter is to actually sell a product, or just to sell a consultation call or a strategy session or something like that. So.
Absolutely. So I think that the sales letter can come, because we were talking about the welcome series. Yeah. So you're saying like at the end of that series, or even like as part of the funnel on a thank you page, send them to a consultation call or a Calendly to set it up from there.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's basic, funnels can get super complicated if you want them to be, but as an email marketing, an email sales funnel, like I typically just try to keep them to about 5 for most businesses, and then build out from there. So.
Okay. Excellent. So most of these clients that you work with, are they local to Knoxville, or are they all online?
Well, let's see. The clients that fit in the box that I'm trying to build, they're coming from online. So, but primarily the clients that have been kind of a more special ops, where I'm more retainer based work, those are coming locally. So, and that's been great. I've been, that's part of how I've built that is basically how I built my business. This whole year has been focused on locally. But I'm realizing like the kind of business I want to build is less location dependent and more location independent. And it's just a little bit more scalable of a process if you can figure out how to find and acquire customers from online. Right. So, so my clients primarily are, I'd say it's probably 80-20, local to 80% local, and then 20% online. And I would like that to reverse. Yeah. I'd love to be able to work with 80% online clients and 20% local clients.
Because the online clients are more, they fit in your new model into the box you had mentioned.
They fit into the service box in terms of, it's a little easier to package and pitch a service offering and then drive people to a very clear,
Mm-hmm.
focused service offering online. And but locally, yeah. So that's basically it. It's that they can fit. You can more easily find people to fit in that box,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So that's what I'm hoping to get. So.
No, that's great. I wanted to bring the box up again when you had mentioned it earlier, because Kate and I, within our business, we're trying to do the same thing where all of our stuff is all online. So all of our clients are online, but it's interesting because we're trying to get it to where we have several different offerings and they fit in, one of three things, as opposed to we get on the phone, we back and forth a little bit. Maybe they need this, and there's so much, it's just not efficient and it's not scalable, because it's now people come to us and it's, you want emails, you want a funnel, you want Facebook ads. Like, it's really simple.
Yep.
As opposed to when we first started, we tried to do everything, and maybe they needed social media management, or maybe they needed, graphic design, and we just try to do everything, but that's not our skill set. That's not that's not our unique genius is there.
Yes, man, that's so key too. And I think like it takes a level of humility and a level of like screwing stuff up to realize like, I gotta focus, I got to, I've got to get a tighter constraint around what I offer. So a lot of people, the question of like, what do you do? It's like, well, I can do a lot of things. And I think a lot of people get into freelancing because, they can do a lot of things. I mean, not everybody's case, but, a lot of marketers are talented, they've got a visual mind, they've got they can write, they can strategize, they're learners. So they're always picking up new skills, but it's key to just getting it down to the couple of things where you can really provide like a ton of value,
Did you have a shift in your business when you realized that you either couldn't do it all yourself or didn't need to do it all yourself?
Well, I'm thinking of a couple scenarios. So like, I think it was more, I realized I can have a much bigger impact and provide a whole lot more value by only doing certain things. So like, for instance, I had this one local client and we went out and got beer and just talked about their problem. And they were like, yeah, let's do this thing. And I was like, wait, how much do you want to spend on that? And it was a lot. And I was like, well, okay. They were telling me how much they would be willing to pay for like a single article, basically. And they were finding other people to do it. And so I was like, well, yeah, I'll do 150 of those for you a month if you want them. And I was like, I have no idea. I can't write all that. And so basically found other people that were willing to write certain, types of content, a lot of it, and had the skills to make it unique, each piece unique, and have a different voice. And so, but my gifting was really more in the editing and the oversight of that process. And so that's an okay example, I guess, because it's not really like what I'm going to be building my business based on. But but that was one of the points where for me it kind of opened up. It's like, wow, I can leverage other people's skills to make me more money, and provide my customer more value. And so like another example might be, I can build basic websites. I can do that, and it's okay. And I'm pretty visually oriented, person for the most part, but it's not my strong suit. There's a lot of glitches, the things that come into it, and I'd much rather my customer be like thrilled with it than think, yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
So I'm identifying. Part of that is just identifying people that can do what you're kind of thinking about and are willing to do it for a price point that allows you to kind of still make money. And it opens up a whole lot more like new revenue opportunities for you too. So you've got a client and you can upsell them something else that someone else can do. You can still provide value to that person and make money in that process. So
it's a win-win. So do you have a team now that you work with?
It's loose. So for the most part, it's just me. But I've got, if a project comes along where it does make sense, I do have people where it's like, yeah, I'm going to send stuff to another Josh, or I'm going to send stuff to Alex, so certain types of copywriting I might send to that person, certain types of design I might send to that person. So So yeah, and I'm still forming that, like working some of those kinks out, because they're building businesses, and sometimes those businesses change, their business changes. And so if you're a freelancer working with other freelancers, one of my tips would be always have like 2 or 3 people that you work with, because if they change, then you're SOL for a while. Opportunity comes along and you've got to scramble to find some new person and vet them and get them used to your system and your process. So I like to have what I call like a virtual bench. If you're a coach and you've got a bench of people you pull from, like, you should be thinking about that way for your business too. So like, what is your virtual bench? What are the 2 to 3 people in each category that you could potentially outsource work to? That, and not everybody wants to outsource work. I mean, it doesn't necessarily make sense for everybody, but if it does, then it's really helpful to have already vetted someone,
and have somebody or a couple of people on backup.
Yep.
So when you do vet the freelancers, when you do decide to bring on somebody new or start working with someone new, what are some of the things you look for in them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one is, do we get along? Like, do we speak the same language? Do they have a similar, so just culturally, like, would I enjoy getting on a call with them and walking through issues? Because you're going to have conflict, you're going to have conflict in the sense that, like, I don't like you, whatever, but sometimes a client's going to be like, I don't like this aspect of it. And if you have someone that's kind of like, a perfectionist and they can't handle, real good feedback, then it's better to do that soon, So I guess that would be a second point. It's like, person can't be a perfectionist. They've got to be willing to I guess being a perfectionist is, you want it to be really good, right? But you don't want someone that's kind of uptight about changes or about taking direction. You're the director in the process, so they have to realize that, like, I want your creative input in this, but, like, I'm the one obviously that has this, that's going to say where we're going to go on this. But so that's another one. And then what else would I look for? I think speed to some degree too. So can they churn things out pretty quickly? And another one, man, I'm realizing that for me, I prefer to work with people in the States, because we need to be relatively close on time,
Yeah.
And I've found cheap freelancers in the Philippines, but the internet's really spotty, and sometimes it'll go 3 days without hearing from someone because of some outage or something. And so a lot of people have great experiences with them. I just haven't yet. So that'd be another thing for me, is just figuring out whatever it is for you, like having those criteria for freelancers that you look to work with and sticking with them. So.
Yeah, the time schedules is such a big thing, even working with clients, because we've had a lot of guys in Australia. And so it's usually like we're working during the day, but it's like their night. I can't remember how it is, but it's usually like a day and a half in between trying to send emails back and forth, or trying to hop on a call was either like their early morning, so the guy's half asleep, it's like 6 a.m. there, or it's their 6 a.m. and it's like 8 o'clock at night for us. So none of us are on, top of our game, but it's such a big deal to be able to just work with people, hop on a call, pretty much any time. There's no language barriers, no time issues. So.
Yep. That's good. Another thing I think is, an agreed upon pricing structure, So like, you go into it knowing basically what that person's gonna do and what they're gonna get paid for a project. So that allows you to just be like, hey, I need one. Here's the details. Boom, 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 and you can crank it out pretty quick. So
you don't have to negotiate every time a new project comes up.
Yeah, pretty basic stuff. Most people probably think to do that, but it is helpful, just to make sure. But
because you never know, that's such a big deal is setting up boundaries and expectations, because the clients you've worked with in the past or the freelancers, like, everyone's different. All their experiences are different. So just being very clear and upfront about, your needs, your wants, your flow, how everything works. So everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
And if something gets out of line, you can look back at, we discussed it in this document, you have a copy. And so then everyone's literally on the same page.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And one thing, do you guys do contracts with clients? Do you ever put like a real contract together? I have I have an agreement and it's like, hey, we're going to pay this amount, we're going to do it this way. And it's basically like 5 or 6 lines, but I haven't really felt it. I haven't ever gotten burned by not having a contract, but is that something you guys do?
So with us, we always get paid up front. So we're
100%?
not 100%. Yep.
Oh, well, good.
So that way, so maybe that's why we're not too worried about getting a contract.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the client is maybe wanting the contract, but we have talked about it in the future, putting something together, just something kind of fun, because like we tell most people, but just to have something in writing that we don't do emails in the evening. We don't do calls on the weekends. We don't do emergency calls. Like everybody's got our Calendly, so you can schedule one pretty much any time. But some clients we've had to, put a limit on that so many hours a week if they're needy and they have a lot of fires. But just these are all things that we discuss before we start working together, but we have talked about getting something that not that they have to actually sign, but just email it to them, glance over it before you pay the invoice, just, make sure and everything looks good.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. Yeah, I like that 100% up front. Does anybody ever push back on that?
No. And I'll tell you what's happened in the last year. It used to be a little nerve wracking being like, oh, and we would also like to be paid up front. But now it's like not even a thing. And I think that comes across in the call. They know that we're confident. We've had hundreds of clients who pay us up front. So if you don't want to, like, you can work with someone else. So it's gotten better both just by doing it over and over and over. It comes across better on the call. I think they can just hear the confidence, and then I think it makes them feel confident in us, because at this point, I mean, we're not, I don't know if we've made it or we're definitely not big wigs, but still, like McKnight Digital, Funnel Rehabbers, the No Pants Academy, like Kate and I, our names are tied to that. So if we were to burn somebody or like do a poor product, like people are going to hear about it, and that's our reputation. So I definitely don't want to do anything that, would come back to look bad on us.
Yeah, that's good. Now, a question for you, interviewer.
Oh, yes.
So how are you guys primarily getting clients?
So we've been doing referrals for probably the last 12 months,
Really?
12, 13 months.
Wow.
Yeah. That's probably 90%. So in the last couple of months, we've started running our own ads and building funnels for ourselves. We've been doing it for clients for a while now. So we wanted to build our own email list, just because we're drinking our own Kool-Aid now. We tell clients, you can't rely on Facebook, you can't rely on Instagram, that they could shut down. You need your own assets. So we've started building our own email list. Kate emails them every day, Monday through Friday. It's usually just valuable information, soft pitches, Ben Settle style, daily emails.
Yep.
So actually from that, we haven't really gotten many like full-time clients. We've sold some passive products. We've got a few trainings that we've sold through that, but still primarily it's been referrals from previous clients and clients coming back for, more and more projects.
Yeah, that's really good.
So it's been like, we can't complain. We keep thinking that, with the freelancer lifestyle, you've always got the scarcity mindset. So in the back of my head, I always think that, this is it. Tomorrow's going to dry up and no one's ever going to work with us again. But so far it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood.
That's good, man. Yeah. I don't think it will for you guys.
So, and with you, I know, local clients is it's so strange to me. Like we met in person with a couple of clients in Knoxville, but it never really worked out. So with you, like, what does that process look like as far as getting them, kind of onboarding them? Like, I have no idea. So please just kind of break it down for me.
Yeah. That's good. So I would say that I don't do a whole lot of projects, like individual projects, like I normally do for my online clients for locally. I primarily bill like retainers, basically, local clients. And so that's building on almost a decade's worth of exposure here in my market, So that's me kind of figuring out, oh, wow, my asset, so to speak, I've been doing marketing events and been involved in the community here locally on a business level for about, I guess 8 years or so. And so build a lot of relationships and a lot of connections. And so that was where I started my freelance business, was like, let's get local retainers, and because that's all I knew, So I've been kind of building those slowly up, and I'm still pitching some of them, and it's nice. I mean, retainers are nice, because month to month, but to some degree, it's still a lot of time for money, and online obviously projects that you get, no matter where they come from, are that exchange too, the one-to-one. But where I'm trying to get business is a little bit more is the one-to-many concept. So be building out some more consulting, like in group consulting aspects, doing more. So some things that scale a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so primarily, is that what you asked? How do I get local clients? What does that look like?
Yeah, but I didn't know that you'd been in the scene for that long. So you've just built up relationships over the years. Yeah,
and it wasn't like, I'd been building up possible client relationships. What's cool about it is that I've just been building up friendships, So as much as you can, like, I think we met at one of those networking events.
Yeah.
We met at a local creative group, and I'd never really gone to that group before, and you'd never really a couple times too. So it's funny how this is a perfect example of how you go to one thing and you try to make one friend, and it turns into something cool, some valuable. It's not like there's ever been any monetary exchange between us, but it's like one thing that we've kind of talked about in the past is like how valuable it is just to have other people that you can actually sit down with and talk with, and grab coffee or grab a beer or something and talk shop. And one, that's encouraging, but two, I mean, you learn things. Like, you guys are skilled in ways I didn't know. And that's one thing that as a freelancer, it's really easy to get isolated, or maybe just to only focus online. And that's such a beautiful thing to be able to do, is have like real great relationships online and networking and masterminds and all that stuff. But I've just been realizing like the value of local relationships, and just going somewhere and saying, hey, you do this, I do that, why don't we go grab coffee? Cool. And then you don't realize how like you're slowly weaving a little web of people that know about you and what you do. And what's cool is they've already qualified you. Like, that's part of, the sales process, whether it's online, inbound leads or whatever. It's like, you've got to, they're qualifying you to some degree. Like, they're asking you for credentials, or they're pricing you out from this person and that person and this person. And it can sometimes become like a price game for a lot of online leads, but and establish like a relationship and some amount of authority and trust with people locally. I've found that it's a lot easier for people to just go, oh yeah, Josh, let's work with him. It's like, how much do you charge? Okay, cool. That's basically what I mean. Sure. But I don't know. And so, anyway, yeah, that's been one of the benefits of working locally and on relationships,
Yeah, I think having friends in the real world that do the same kind of thing, because it's the event that we met at, you were actually speaking. Yeah, like blew my mind. I was like, we're like in the same field, and he's in Knoxville too, and we ended up talking and grabbing coffee, and like
better than him at this stuff.
He's like, but no, that was a really cool. It was more of a creative group, but still just what you were teaching them was like really, really good. How do you get those opportunities to, to speak at places, or to do, paid trainings, paid teaching?
Yeah. The other thing, it's a little bit more of that thing, that web, that if you talk to a person, then they're going to talk to a person, and they're going to talk to a person. Like, it's, I've just found that like networking, like what we call it, but really it's just building a web of relationships, people that know you and like you. And, that's how most of my speaking gigs have come. And I think going to events somewhat too, and like just as a participant. But I don't know, to some degree, it's almost like serendipitous. Like, why did you think of me out of all the people that talk about this, Yeah. But, or like the person that ran that event that we met at, I didn't even know she ran a group of creative professionals. And so she just emailed me out of the blue and was like, you want to come talk about this? I was like, cool. but I am starting to pursue that more intentionally now. And so one of the things that's helpful is having a presentation, having a thing that you can speak on, and then going and telling people that meet on a professional level, and they're looking for speakers like, hey, I can come speak on this, and I can come add value in this way to your group. And as much as you can, tie what they meet about, to what you do. And not just like, hey, I can talk about myself for 45 minutes, but 20 minutes or whatever, but try to really hone in on what their problem is, and then relate what your insights from what you've learned in your business to solving that problem for them. So,
and so from the ones that you've spoke at, have you made good connections? I mean, besides me, of course, but have you made other connections at the places that you teach?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I spoke at a conference, like a local marketing conference 2 weeks ago. And I actually just pursued them. I was like, hey, I've got this presentation. I'd love to be able to give it to you. It's on StoryBrand, the messaging, helping people clarify their messaging. Cause I was like really excited about giving it. And I think it's a really great speech. It would be great for this group. Right. And they're like, actually, we need you to speak on B2B social media marketing. And I was like, that sounds terrible. Like, I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, somebody at some point told me never turn down a speaking opportunity. And obviously you have to sometimes, logistically you just have to, or it doesn't make sense for your business. But if it's like the right audience, and it's something that you can speak to from authority to some degree, and you're just maybe nervous or scared about it, it's like, you got to push through that, there's so much value in getting in front of people and communicating what you can do and how you can help them, and just providing them value and associating your name with value. And that's really like what you're trying to do in these situations. Is Josh is a valuable marketing person, let's talk to Josh about that. And so, yeah, the one presentation that I gave a couple weeks ago, they asked to speak on B2B social media, but I wanted to speak on something else. But it was cool because I was able to kind of like weave the two together to some degree. And ended up getting, there were 25 people in the room. I ended up getting 22 of them to kind of opt into my call to action. Nice. And so that was another tip I would give, is anytime you speak, always have a very clear call to action that adds value to your presentation. And so one little trick you could do is to tell people not to take notes. But hopefully you would have a really great presentation, but tell them not to take notes because you're going to provide a way to give them that information. So if they want to get anything out of the presentation long-term, they have to at the end. Things. I end up telling people, like, pull out your phone, text this number. Like I say, text PDF to this number, and they will, and you have to say, pull out your phone and like do your hand like this. Cause they'll just, okay. And so they just start typing. And so like 22 out of 25 people that were there ended up texting to get my PDF. And so then I just sent them a link, like, tell me where to send your PDF. And then they go on, opt into the little thing and get it. But the other cool thing about it is that, especially if you're selling to business people, if you were to ask them to email something or go to a landing page, it's kind of clunky. But if you can get that, if you can just get them to text, then you can build that relationship. Like that's all you really need. And the cool thing about it is you can take that list of numbers up, and because they're usually going to be using a personal cell phone, it's probably the number that they're also using on Facebook. So you can use that list of people that opted into your PDF, not only to just send them whatever resource you're going to give, but upload that list also to Facebook. So like if you're selling in the B2B space, if they were to opt into your list, they might not use your Facebook, their Facebook email. They might use a business email to opt into your list. And so this is a way for people who sell B2B or freelancers that service other businesses to get some way to build a custom audience on Facebook to run ads to them. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Because you could do it for retargeting, or if you had enough to build like a lookalike from people who, especially in the B2B space. No, it's super valuable. And it's so smart because you're already there. You're already giving the speech. You're just, just like a landing page, you're just giving them something to do.
Yep. And so I gave away a PDF in this one that included all the ideas I shared, and then like 40% more of the ideas I couldn't share. So I added a little value to the presentation and put that in a PDF. But then I also offered like a consulting package that I would normally charge like $500 for. I said, I'll give it to you for free. And so I had and I said, text, it was a story brand consulting session. Said, text story to this number if you want to be entered in for the chance to win a $500, consulting package. And so all the people, what was cool about that was like all the numbers that texted PDF, I could then see all the people that were potentially interested in the thing I actually do want to sell or actually do want to talk about, so some way to connect what you do to provide additional value, or the speech to provide additional value, and then to also connect to what you ultimately want to sell them. So,
So for the speeches, have you ever done Toastmasters, or do you like prep in any certain way as far as like getting ready for speaking gigs?
Yeah, I've kind of honed down my process a little bit on that. I've spoken a lot in a lot of different scenarios, and not that I'm any good, just that I've done it. I feel a little more comfortable doing it. And so my process now is basically research the crap out of whatever topic I'm doing. And then I'll actually use the story brand process for clarifying a company's messaging to clarify my messaging for what I'm going to speak on. And so we can, if somebody's interested in that, I can tell you how to learn more about that. But you can basically just look up the story brand messaging process and see kind of how that goes through. But that's been so helpful because it's like clarify what the customer wants, what the person wants. What does this person actually want out of this presentation? And it's probably not what I always want to, what I might necessarily have thought about speaking on, but if I could put myself in their shoes and think, what do they actually want out of this? Then you're going to go from people sitting back like this, like snooze fest to like this was the first presentation I'd actually used the story brand process on. But it was so funny because like, you're used to some people just kind of nodding off, but literally people were like on the edge of their seats, just like nodding and smiling. And I was like, this is so strange. But that just comes from, I think, like really trying to empathize with where they are. They go to marketing conferences or they're at whatever thing, and usually they're ready to just fall asleep. But if you can really hit on the things that they're going through, hit on the pains that they're experiencing, and then provide some sort of plan in your presentation for helping them solve that problem. And so that's kind of how I build out the outline for a presentation. And then in terms of like practically, how do I prep for a presentation? I will write down, I will script it out. Basically, like this is my script. And what's great about that is that it allows you to practice the same way a few times. So like you could literally just read through it 3 times. And if somebody told you you can't have your paper anymore, you would have a little bit of that ingrained. And so you want it to be as much off the cuff as possible. But if it all fails and like sweat starts pouring down your face and you're just like locked up and can't speak, if all else fails, you can just read your presentation,
Yeah.
So I've been in situations where it's like I didn't have any notes, or I've just got bullet points, and that might work for some people, but not for me. So it's great to have a safety net of like, this is what I say right here. And so, but the more you do it, the more you can speak a little bit more off the cuff. And so that's been my presentation. I usually try to go through things 3 times and time myself while I walk through my script. And the first couple of times I walk through my script and practice, I do it with the presentation, that I've got. And it's not, I just let it be clunky, let it be clunky. Don't worry about it. Just read through things. And then the second and third time, try to go as much from memory as possible, and then glance to look down to see if you're still kind of on track. And so that kind of gets you in the zone for engaging with people like while you're speaking, And but if you go to it with no prep whatsoever and you're not used to speaking off the cuff like that, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, we've all seen that happen. You feel so bad for whoever it is.
Yeah,
like, for whatever reason, they just freeze.
You kind of did it to yourself there,
Yeah. So I see that you are in your office right now. How much time do you spend at home working, and how much time do you spend at your office? Like, what does your average kind of day look like?
It's changed. I used to have a roommate in this office, and when they were here, I realized that I did not want to be here because 1, they were talkers, and 2, I just can't focus when someone else is just like chatting or on calls or whatever. So that's part of the process for me, is learning how I work, and I need to be in an isolated place. And so I have 2 kids. They all work at home, or they all play around at home, and our house is small and loud. And so I spend about 20% of the time there, about 80% in the office. But there's also, I've got some coworkers, some people that work in the other side of the building, and they have literal pep rallies in the office every day from like 11 to 2. So another key thing for me has been getting some noise canceling headphones. Even if you have your own office, like sound will carry. And so anyway, that's
for sure. So what do you listen to with your headphones on?
Yeah, so I can't listen. I write a lot, and so a lot of the things I do are word oriented. And so I found I can't listen to any music with words.
Yep.
I also can't really listen to music. So I listen to white noise, or I listen to like noise, like nature sounds or something. And there's an app called Windy, Windy, and an app called I think it's called Rainy, and like 99 cents or something. And what's cool about them is they don't have loops that like die down and then pause and then come back up like to a soundtrack. It's basically an infinite loop, and there's no breaks, so you can like you don't like, I don't know, if I'm listening to a playlist of rain sounds on Spotify or something, like there's a track break, and that kind of distracts me a little bit. And maybe I'm just like the biggest wuss ever when it comes to like,
there's rain and then there's no rain.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you're saying, because it stops and you don't even register it until it's not there, and then you're like, it's like the end of a record or something. It's just like click and it stops, and then you're aware that you're working and you're out of the kind of that flow state. And
get out of the flow. That's it. It's just like trying to maintain flow as much as possible.
No, that's the same way here. I've found like electronic music, if it's pretty chill, or like ambient sounds, but can't have any lyrics, because it's like my brain's thinking of words and working in such a way, and then the words are also coming in. Like I know some people can do it. I've talked about it with friends, and they get pumped up to different stuff, but it's like, I feel like, no, we just can't.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I can't.
So we've got the noise canceling headphones. Is there anything else in your office that kind of helps you either be more productive or more efficient kind of throughout your workday?
That's a good question. So one of the things I'm investing in that I'm hoping will add some level of effectiveness to my workday is I just bought an autonomous desk online. Have you ever heard of Autonomous?
No.
Yeah, they're really great. It's like $350 for an automated raising, standing, and lowering desk. So, and so it's like $350, super simple to put together, and so like some way to stay productive while if you get sore back, or you just need to stand up and get a break. I have been moving my laptop to this little like filing cabinet back here, and it's like not the right height, And so anyway, so I'm investing in that, which is going to be great. And as weird as this sounds, I just put a candle in my office, and like I'm not really like a candle person, but just working on bringing some more like kind of home-like into my space has been good, because I'm pretty utilitarian for the most part. Like I can work on a card table and tell myself, you got to get it done, in this, like, don't be a wuss and need a house plant or something. But no, those things are important. It's helpful to feel comfortable in your space, and to make wherever you're working a place you actually like being,
Yeah, because if you dread going in and you just know your back's going to hurt, that's the bonus course we did on productivity, house plants, windows if possible, and then like sit-stand desk if at all possible. I know when Kate and I invested in ours, it's been the best thing ever, because if you're thinking, my back really hurts, I don't want to be here, like you said, like I wish I was doing anything else, then you really can't focus on what you have to do, because all this other noise is there. Yeah,
exactly. And the cool thing is, like, if you work for someone else, you wouldn't be able to just say, I want to buy a new desk, like a desk, or you wouldn't be able to change your environment quite as much. But part of the beauty of being a freelancer and being able to work for yourself, work from home, or have an office that you can design is like making it what you want, making it a space that reflects you and helps you get into the zone, get into flow, and planning like ways to relax, whether that's like a pull-up bar on the door or books that you just find inspiration from, like copywriting books or like comics, or that, like, I found that, like, if I ever get stuck in my workflow, that just going somewhere that inspires me, like I'll pick up a Leonardo da Vinci book and just look through some sketches. It's just like being around someone else looking at someone else who is intensely, massively creative. And that just kind of provides like little electrical jolts to your creativity, and instead of feeling like I got to produce, like part of your ability to become better at something is your ability to take inspiration from other places, planning, providing that in your workspace too.
No, absolutely. And I think that sometimes we want to just kind of grit our teeth and just bear it and just like push through. And if you step away, like we've got guitars hanging up in the office, like we'll pick them up, play for a minute, go outside, go for a walk, just like, just turn your brain off for a second and let the subconscious do its thing. Like you said, it's so crazy looking at, an artist from hundreds of years ago, a completely different medium, like has nothing to do with what you do, but looking at it, it's still a master of his craft. It's still inspiring. It's still like, there's probably some science about it. I don't know, but it works.
Yeah. No, that's true, man.
So you mentioned comic books, you mentioned copywriting books. Do you have any other books that kind of like your go-to resources?
For just anything and everything marketing related?
Yeah.
I don't know that I do. I'll go through phases. Like, I'm trying to accumulate more of a stash of that kind of thing. So, like copywriting book, I've got a Ray Edwards book that I'll just go back and be like, I need to write some creative copy that includes an interesting bullet. And I don't want it to just be like benefit. Like, what are some interesting, so he's got a really great section in Copy That Sells about 21 different kinds of bullet points you can write. And it's like, who would have thought you could write 21 different kinds of bullet points? And so having I found that like concise manuals, like little people that have written books like less than 100, 120 pages can be really good because they've worked hard at getting the content really short and pithy. And like if I'm in a jam, like going somewhere and reading one sentence, that's really powerful. Or like scanning through headlines, or chapter titles, whatever. Anyway, so shorter books are usually more helpful for me. And they end up being more copy related, but I don't know that I necessarily have any like that are must-haves,
So how else are you kind of growing in your own craft with your business, kind of challenging yourself?
Yeah. A couple of things. Like one is that I've been investing more lately in learning, and there've been some pretty significant investments for me financially. And I think we even talked about this where it's like, instead of listening to anything and everything, all things marketing, copy, graphic design, funnel related, it's like pick one person and follow what they do. And I'm trying to get better at that. So there are a couple of guys I'm following right now, and specifically on like the client acquisition side, like how do you get and build a consistent stream of new high ticket clients. And so I'm just like devouring everything related to them that they've put out, and primarily podcasts. That's my go-to. So I'll walk into, the restaurant that I'm eating lunch in and meeting a client or something, and I'll have my headphones in, listening to a podcast, and just always kind of have something queued up so I can kind of maximize every minute. And I listen to them on like 2 times the speed usually. Oh, yeah. And my wife's like, "You are insane. How do you do that?" But it's just, when people talk normal speed now, I'm kind of like, today, Junior, like speed.
It's so funny because I do the same thing. Yeah. And when you do turn it back, or like if you, cause I've got like a YouTube one that it's speed controller. So it speeds up all videos on the internet. And so if you refresh the page, everything, man, it's awesome because I can't I have so much time in a day, and it's like, if I can double this and get it done quicker, then awesome. But if you refresh or close the page, come back later, and it's playing at one speed, it's just like
Yeah.
slow is what it feels like.
Yeah.
But
And a lot
yeah,
of those guys will intentionally slow it down. They'll slow down their talking so that I don't know why they slow it down, but
yeah.
a lot of these guys, you can tell they probably wouldn't normally talk that slow, but they're doing it on purpose. So I don't
Trying to
know.
like enunciate or so people can take it in more. I don't know, but I
Or
really
maybe
feel.
when people do speed it up, it's
Uh,
more listenable, more.
with a little bit of spaces in between it,
Mhm.
instead of if you're fast already and try to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, going back to just kind of the investments, and so
Mm-hmm.
I made a pretty significant investment on becoming a better consultant, like what I do and how I do it, and that was one kind of package that I invested in, and then the other one that I'm going to be doing pretty soon is that client acquisition kind of coaching and training. So like finding someone that knows and has been where you want to be, and paying them to teach you what they know, and that's like I've found you make much more significant jumps in your business from a revenue perspective, an opportunities perspective, and a confidence perspective. Like, because confidence, man, that is like the currency of a consultant.
Yeah.
If you can go into a situation and know that you can provide value to someone, you have the opportunity to say, you're not the right client for me, and whereas otherwise you might be like, I got to take this client, and I don't want to work with them, but I have to because I don't have any money, or I don't have any, I probably couldn't get a good client anyway, so doing things intentionally doing things and investing in things that build your confidence. So huge.
Yeah. No, that's priceless. Being able to take someone else's knowledge, because that's the thing. Like, most people can maybe get there on their own, but it's going to take longer. It's going to cost them more money in the long run. Yeah. You may end up just failing because of something that you didn't know. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so true. And it's another thing. It's just like building relationships. So one of these things that I built, the course that I invested in was, I've got great relationships with the people that put the course on. They're sending me leads. Like oh yeah, Josh is a good copywriter, or Josh is someone good that's in the B2B space. You should reach out to him for something. And so anyway, just another opportunity too.
That's awesome. So there are a lot of hucksters and, self-proclaimed gurus out there. Like, who do you follow? Who do you kind of respect in the marketing space?
Yeah. That's good, man. I like for messaging, for general business related concepts, I've been listening to Michael Hyatt. Michael Hyatt is like a business coach, a mentor. I like his worldview and his perspective on life for the most part. And Donald Miller and the story brand world has become like a huge asset to me in providing value and clarity to my customers and their messaging and the ads that we run and anything we write. And so I've been really enjoying digging into his stuff. I don't know if you, let's see, I really like on the paid side, I've been getting a lot out of John Loomer and Facebook traffic side, John Loomer, and Rick Mulready's great for, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, The Art of Paid Traffic. He's got it's more accessible, more for like entry-level, a little bit more entry-level Facebook ads stuff. I've been learning, I learned something new from him most of the time. And then on the consulting side, Traffic and Funnels. I don't know if you've ever heard of Traffic and Funnels, Chris Evans and Taylor Welch. I've been really enjoying a lot of what they put out and just helping to provide focus in my business and hopefully some more scalability to my consulting. So those are probably the guys right now.
Yeah, those are all solid. But it's interesting because you said to not, because we've talked about it before, not getting involved with too many different people. Like if you feel like you're drinking from a water hose and then suddenly you're drinking from 6 water hoses. Yeah. But it's nice to have a go-to like John Loomer, Facebook ads. Like if you want to learn Facebook ads, like just like his stuff is not, he's not like a sexy, loud kind of, he's just like stats and numbers and just, I'm a normal guy. I really know my stuff. Here it is. He gives away tons of free stuff. Like, yeah. But it's nice to have kind of one expert, with Michael Hyatt, he was one of the first podcasts I started listening to, and it is just practical leadership advice, balancing work and business and family, just having go-to guys in all those different areas. Because entrepreneurship and freelancing, there are so many different little pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I used to be really into Gary Vee. I couldn't do it anymore, man. He put out so much content, I had to turn him off.
It's so funny. Kate and I were talking about this the other day because I feel like everybody maybe like cuts their teeth on Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And I still like him. I still think he's like doing awesome work and he knows his stuff. Seems like a cool dude. But at some point you kind of get out of that hustle 24/7, just constant. It's like I needed that when I first started. I needed like that constant positivity and just get out there and do it. But now it's like I need more practical, like this is awesome, but actually I need to know how to do that instead of just telling me kind of, general.
Yeah, that's good. I lost my job in January. That might have been a key thing to kind of include in here, but I got laid off from my job. And that was what started this whole process of like, man, do I want to go work for someone else or do I want to build my own thing? And it was pretty influential for me. And after I had already decided to do my own thing of like, just setting the right mindset, get perspective on life and what I'm here to do. And that success doesn't come just by sitting back on your heels and hoping for it, by putting yourself out there and making big strides consistently and being patient and doing the right activity time and time again. So anyway, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Just seeing the impact, because when I left my job, it was the idea that, I started working in the evenings and on the weekends on like my side hustle, because, he told me basically it's like, you can't, live for the weekend. It's just like, if you're not hustling on Friday night, Monday morning's going to come and it's going to suck. Yeah. So I think there's definitely, especially early on, that need for, if you don't have it in your life, and that's like with a lot of us, I'll ask this question in a second. A lot of us don't have people that really understand it. So it is nice to have someone to kind of, breathe that into us. So do your friends and family, do people understand what you do, like freelancing, or do they think you just like hang out in your PJs and play on Facebook all day?
Hang out in my no pants?
Hang out in no pants.
No, that is the beauty of it. You don't have to wear pants.
Yeah,
most of the time. But yeah, my dad is actually, he's been a freelance graphic designer and illustrator for a really long time. Most of my family has a context for saying that, like, yeah, you can make good money just working from home, and so but in terms of what I actually do, not really. My mom tries to guess sometimes. She's like, so you make newspaper articles, no, Mom, I don't know how to explain it to you, but yeah, I do different stuff from that. So in my friends, yeah, I typically hang out with people. I don't know. I guess I just have friends that kind of get this world. So it actually hasn't been that difficult to explain what I do to folks. At least I think. Maybe they think
it's nice. They're just like nodding and smiling. They really have no idea. Like, okay, funnels. Sure.
Yeah. That's where like kind of getting to the core of like, what do you do for people? Well, I help people get customers. Okay. Well, how do you, like, if you can say, I help people get customers. Okay. Sometimes they'll be like, well, how do you do that? And then you can say, well, I set up automated systems so that customers come to them. They don't have to go find them, struggle to get every single one. Okay. And if they really care, they'll ask again, how do you do that? And you're like, well, I use content marketing and a couple of tools, email marketing automation software and Facebook ads to, create a system to do this and that. And they're like, okay, whatever. Yeah. So, but a lot of times you don't have to get that far because people don't really care. They're just like, yeah, I'm a marketing consultant. I help people get customers. So that's like, all you say sometimes.
It always makes me rethink my elevator pitch when I meet somebody new and I tell them what I do. And if they either like, just look at me kind of weird, like, or they're just like, what's that? And I'm just like, I need to work on that to break it down. I like what you say is to help them get customers, because that's immediately, it doesn't matter who you are. You get, okay, got you. You help businesses essentially make more money. They get more people in the door. It's like, that makes sense, as opposed to I help businesses find their branding and build sales funnels. And it's like, then you got to start breaking down kind of everything that means.
Exactly. And that goes into the story brand world. And so it's, one of the investments that I made was I went through the story brand certification process where I learned the story brand framework, and then I learned how to teach other people how to do it, and then how to implement marketing according to this messaging framework. And so one of the key things that comes out of that is just like really identifying what your customer wants, and what you offer, how you describe what you offer isn't what they want. That's the solution to what they want. What they want is more customers, or they want they want to lose weight, or they want to I don't know, whatever it is. And so you've got to figure out what that person actually wants. And as you're building out an elevator pitch, like think through that. So like put it in terms that are simple enough to understand that people can say, oh, I see why that would be valuable. How do you do that? We jump into when we're explaining what we do, we typically say, this is the things that I do, and not the value that I bring, and the results I provide for people. So if you're thinking through an elevator pitch or something, usually try to think through the results aspect.
Awesome. This entire interview has been just a ton of valuable information and advice. If you could, so for all the freelancers, beginner, intermediate guys out there and gals, if you could give them one piece of advice, so based on your 8+ years of working in the field, having your own clients, having a team, like what would you tell them going forward?
Oh man, I've got probably a few different things, but I'll just keep it to one. So, I'll do it this way. So if you're just starting out, is that what it was for? Is people just starting out?
Well, we can do about two. So just starting out, maybe established a little bit.
Okay. So if you're just starting out, just try to get clients. Don't care. And don't worry so much about your hourly rate. Don't worry so much about how much money you're going to make. Like if you have to give stuff away, do it. And so like if you've sold a project that's like $1,000 and you wanted to make $50 an hour on it, but you're 40 hours into this project, like obviously that's not sustainable, but it's okay, because the thing that you're really trying to give is value, and ultimately that's all you want to give, but you've got to earn the right to get more clients. And so like when you're first starting out, just try to think through, how much value can I give to this person? Because it's almost like you're working up a ladder. And so the first rung is client number one. Client number one and their success leads on hopefully to client number 2 and client number 3. And so like the more happy people that you leave in your wake, the better you're living totally on referrals right now. That came from providing a lot of value to people. So I just think like the currency you need to be worried about is how much value did I give? Obviously you got to make money. So try to do that and still make money. And then the other thing for people that might be a little bit more established and are kind of honed in on exactly what they want is thinking through what is my messaging? I've got to get my messaging right. Like I have to figure out how to say what I do and the results I provide for people in a clear, concise, compelling way. And so I encourage folks to look into the story brand process. You don't have to go through me, you don't have to do it, but they've got a lot of great resources on their site for clarifying your messaging. Because if you can't get that across, then you're missing a lot. And if you spend money promoting yourself, or you spend time promoting yourself and time building out a website and all this stuff, but you haven't really figured out what your audience wants, what's keeping them in the way, and then your plan for helping them do that, and whether that results in the exact success that they're looking for out of life, or like the failure that might come from not working with you. Like if you don't have all those pieces kind of really honed in, then your messaging doesn't, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities to engage people. So
awesome. So provide value and just know your audience.
Yeah, just really work on that messaging, getting that messaging honed in. So
awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much for your time. If anybody wants to get in contact with you, find out more about StoryBrand, learn any more of your knowledge, where can they find you?
Yeah. So they can go to signalbrandworks.com, and that's signalbrandworks.com.
Excellent. We'll add it in. All right,
Yeah.
Josh. Thanks again.
All right. Appreciate it, Ron. Talk to you later, man.
Talk to you soon. Bye.